Great. Yeah. Yeah. So Tammy, tell us about Valence and Blairsville. Tell us about all that you all do there, if you could.
Okay. We do all of the anodized specs for it's sulfuric anodized. So we do the type 2 and the type 3. We do
Hmm.
a variety of colors. So we have large tanks for the black dye and we do clear, but we also do a range from purple to green to blue for various mil specs and then also for commercial use as well. We've done a lot of pretty strange colors that go towards the standards, the Fed standards and the AMS standards. We also do chemical conversion coatings, the type 1s, the type 2s, and then, the class 1As and the 3s. On the other side of the plating, we do zinc phosphate and we do zinc plate to the ASTM and the AMS specs. And the passivation for various mil standards, and then also black oxide for the class 1 and class 4. We don't do the 2s and 3s just because they're a higher temperature and there's just not a lot of work for that. But those are more for the gun parts, and we do have our standards for the gun coats. I mean the gun parts, and we are able to run an FFL. We do have an FFL license. We do non-destructive testing for fracture critical parts. And so that would be just our front office. And then in the back, we do a variety of mil standard paints, maskings, very intricate maskings in this area. We have 3D printers in place, and we do CAD drawings to lift those masking requirements off and be able to place those parts on the parts correctly. So then we don't have that much rework, but we are able to, we've really grown in that area, I think. And we do a liquid masking and so forth. So I think that we've become more premier when it comes to masking, and we've reached to our customers a lot to communicate those out so that we're not causing any rework when it comes to that. We have large ovens that are all Nadcap approved, and we're able to cure in those ovens and to get the parts out faster. And we have a powder coat line that is also set to be Nadcap approved. And we have a graphics section that is Nadcap approved. And graphics could be to the back of where you see on the helicopter seats where it says ejection or don't sit here, don't step here. We do all of that, and that is baked in an oven. And then we do part marking. It's a nice random one-stop shop here in Blairsville. And we also do a lot of BR-127 primer work for the government, and then we also started doing some silver plating and blasting. So the silver plate is on for copper as well as on aluminum parts. So that is pretty much the gamut of everything we do. We have a full-fledged quality department that is 100% visual inspection as well as an AQL of picking up pretty much almost every part to ensure that we have quality there. And then we also have an engineering department that goes through all the quotes and making sure that we are communicating properly back to our customer for what they need.
Right. Yeah. You talk about a one-stop shop. I'm not sure what you all wouldn't do for something. You do all of it. That's a pretty wide gamut of offerings you have, right? I mean, it's a tremendous amount.
We've grown so much, and I think what stops us sometimes is we have 55,000 square feet of production space, and when we first started as a plating company, we were so geared towards smaller parts, and now as everything's changed in our climate, we have grown to have bigger parts, and so that's where we're sort of learning how to step through that. I feel like every day is a learning day, and we have a great team here, so we learn together. Sometimes we're dysfunctional, but we learn through it together, which is wonderful. It's sometimes fun to come to work, right? Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I was going to say with all the projects you got and what's coming in the door with that. And So is most of it aerospace that you're doing? It seems like with all the specs and everything. Is that
at our facility in Pennsylvania is that we do have aerospace, but I'd say be more land sea focused here. So a lot of ours is more on the ground, and caulk paint is our focus. So we spray corrosion anti-resistant coatings on the daily. So, and that would be the greens and the tans and the blacks that we have going through here on the daily. So
gotcha.
As my sister companies, they're more in the air. I'm more down on the ground, but we're still very defense oriented. 95 to 98% of us is defense. And then those 2-3% are the commercials, but they more are your nuts and bolts that would hold something in defense or Department of Transportation kind of things.
Right, definitely with that. Yeah, and so you all are part of the Valence group now, and I know that was started back in right after 2000. Was it 2002? I think it was when the company was H&W Global. Is that right? Yes. Is that the name of it? Yeah, and it was I'm trying to think. Was it Jean-Pierre Habit? Was that the gentleman's? What was his background that he got started in this?
Yes, Jean-Pierre and Sandy started it as a married couple, and they actually taught me pretty much everything I know. They're fantastic folks. They actually started in a garage, and they were dipping parts in the garage, and then they found that, well, wow, there's a niche here. And they moved to a smaller facility about 30 minutes from here, and they quickly grew out of that. And then they built the facility that we're in, or they moved into the facility that we're in, and then built onto this facility,
right?
Which was really amazing. And then we were able to move on from there and continue to build on. We have filled out our complete footprint in the place that we're at, so we can go up or we can go on top of one another, right? But I feel that we have enough. We're lean enough to be able to move about as we see parts coming through. But this place was built on JP and Sandy's vision. We've kept the place as clean as we could possibly, because that was always our calling card. And JP would say that all the time, that you're going to win out customers, you're going to win through audits just because you're clean. And it is so true. And we've tried to keep that whole thought through this place. So we have Zambonis that run twice a day to clean the floors. We wipe down the tanks. I mean, we go through everything. We're spick and span here, and we've actually become like a model for that. And I actually toured someone right before I had an interview with you, and the gentleman said, "I've never seen a plating facility look this nice." And that warms my heart, because JP, like I said, taught us so much, and to be able to carry that through, it really means a lot to me. And it also took
I was going to say, because you've been there. Yeah.
The Valence team also.
Yeah, that's very much. I guess that's right. You all were very attractive to them, that they would want to make the purchase with that. And so you started in I'm going to say it was around 2012, 13, 14, something like that. Is that when you started there at that point? Right. And what was your start there at the company with that?
I actually I was employee number 24 when I started. I came on as it's funny, I came on as an HR coordinator, just because I had been working in the defense world for 21 years prior to coming here. And so we had this onslaught of required contracts that came through, and we were trying to find good people to fill those places. And I have a lot of contacts in the area, so that's why it was brought on. And it was very clear at that first day that everybody was coming to me for a lot of different things, and I was able to move into quality, which Sandy Habits taught me everything I know in quality, and I just fell in love with quality. And I ended up being a quality assistant with her, and moved more into quality manager when Valence was purchased, and then on to the GM thereafter. I was humbled to be picked for that. Yes. So, and that's
right. I was going to say,
it's been a ride.
I was going to say, it sounds like they had a culture that you've adopted pretty much, right? Of very, attention to detail, cleanliness, those type of things that you say that you've continued carried through over these years from what you've learned from them, correct?
Yes, and I think that just from JP and Sandy learning that, and then also with my COO Chris O'Neill, just learning his that job shop knowledge is not something that you just go out and you can take a course and learn. It's something that you learn through the years, and the Valence thought process is so much of that it's just you continue to learn, you can touch and reach, and the beauty of Valence is that you're no longer on that finishing island. I can pick up the phone at any time and call any one of my sister companies, and I feel like they're all my brothers, and I can reach out and say, hey, I need your help with this, and have a company that just does that. And I just love that. I love that about this company. It's just beautiful.
Yeah, that's a rare option that not a lot of people have. So, like you said, it is almost like an island where there's not, somebody down the street or somebody across town or even anybody else that wants to help you out sometimes. I mean, you're sort of alone in those, but it's great to have that ability.
It truly is. I mean, if you think about it, I mean, if you're my competitor, I'm not going to tell you what I think is going to be able to fix that, right? And
exactly.
This one here,
right.
Like there's 12 of us, so we can all reach out to something. And when we put in our silver line,
right.
That was the beauty. We had Springfield, Massachusetts came down. They sent people down, actually taught us how to titrate and make sure our tanks were within specs, and then run parts. And then I had California helping with different kinds of maskings, and it was just all that time to get up and running was cut down minimally, because I had people helping, and we're all in rowing
resources
together.
Resources
rowing together.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And you all just acquired an Nadcap certification, right? How many years ago was that?
3 years ago.
3 years ago?
Yes.
Or had you had? Okay.
Yes, we did.
How was that going through that process?
Whenever when it was just JP and Sandy, Valence was the ones that brought us into the Nadcap. So, and now we're moving on to the whole company would be Nadcap. So the steel side and the silver will gain its Nadcap here in September, whereas all the aluminum side, the paint and the blasting had received that in 2023. That was the last thing I did as the quality.
Gotcha. Quality manager, right? Yeah. How was that process for you all? It seems like I hear it's pretty intense to go through that and such.
Nadcap changes your life. I think that at first when you start going through and you're reading the checklists and you're seeing like all the requirements that need to happen. You need to have this. You need to show this. You're like, wow, that is just so much. Like, how am I going to get this all instituted? But whenever you do it and you see how it makes you better, stronger, and tighter, and your processes become more robust, and the rework is cut down just because you have a process. Read it, run it, live it, go by it. And that's, I think, what Nadcap does. And I think that it has made us an even stronger company. It was painful getting there, but now that we're there, I would never go back, because you just keep going back. Like, hey, there it is, right there. You have everything written out. Just make it happen.
Right. Yeah. How there's a lot. I know a lot that goes into that, but how hard is it to get your staff and everybody to really buy into what It seems like you all were pretty much. The quality was there to begin with, but to get everybody on board, understand what's going on, why we need to follow this, why we need to acquire this. I mean, what kind of process was that going through with that?
It's hard to change the culture. I think that we have a lot of new green people, and unfortunately, you can't go buy people that have worked at an aerospace company, and you can't go get them off the shelf. You have to cultivate them and teach them. And sometimes just constantly touching base, like, hey, we have morning Gemba meetings and we bring everybody together and we just keep teaching. Like, hey, we saw this yesterday. Where was it at in the procedure? How did you go to that? How did you get there? And when you answer that customer, how are you answering that customer? So it's a constant learning experience. And I think that our people have always had that built into them. I think the environment of finding people is tough right now, but whenever you know, like you hire 5, you keep 2, but those 2 are very knowledgeable and ready to go, and I think they're hungry. You have to be hungry in this company of hungry for knowledge, you know, and it's forever changing.
Right.
And you gotta, those specs are huge, and how do you work through them, and let's talk it out. And I have fun. I know I'm a dork, but I have fun, you know.
Well, I was going to say, and it comes at you fast, right? I mean, there's lots of things that, you know, come in there, especially when you're talking turnaround times, things you sort of need to, you know, pick it up, put it down, move it pretty quickly, but also at the extreme high level that you're being asked to do it at. I mean, these are critical components with a lot of them, I'm sure.
And I think was one of our biggest step ups from H&W Global to Valence was get it out the door. Because if you get it out the door quick, you're going to get more in. And, you know, if you keep turning the parts, you continue to get more. But that's where we would trip. We'd come to a point and then we would push so hard that we would end up have more rework. We've now gotten to the point where it's just calm down, take a step back, go back to your procedure. And that's where Nadcap made us good. Because it was like, I know that it takes time, but let's do it right and do it right the first time. We didn't have time to do it the whole way through the first time. So how do we have time to rework it and do it a second time? So, and that's been our change of culture. And then getting some newer, younger folks in, learning to walk the walk and talk the talk. And it's a fun ride.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes it loops up around.
Right. And,
you know,
right. Well, it seems like you haven't forgot that HR training that you had, which is it's all about the people a lot of times. You can buy new tanks, right? You can buy new equipment. It's got to be the people that run it, right? I mean, and they got to feel like they want to be there and be on board to what you're wanting them to do, which is that excellence all the time. But that sounds like you've still got that HR blood in you a little bit with that.
Well, your mom here, which I really don't know that I like, but some of them it makes me feel old. But I do. I love these people as if they're my family. Like we're actually together more, right? You're more together at work more than you are with your own family.
Right.
So they are part of me, and I really do care about them deeply. And they just we can't do what we do without each other. You know, I can sit behind this desk and talk all day long. They're the ones that are doing the work. They deserve everything that they get. I wish I could give them more because that's how much they mean to me. But and their safety, I always joke about. I want you to go home the same way you came, whether you were grumpy or whatever. But I want you whole when you go home, and be grumpy to someone else.
Right. Yes, someone else. Well, there was something I read. I think it was in your LinkedIn where you talked about where you sort of converted from a reactive quality system to more of that was relied on inspections to kind of catch issues, where it's more of a proactive. What did you mean by that? Like you said, not being reactive but being more proactive on things.
I know that when I first started, we would just put it out to the floor, and the employees would just figure it. I've started to build in staff exactly what to do. What are you looking for? This is what you're looking for. So, and at final inspection, you're making sure that your runs aren't there. You're making sure that the paint is in the slots and not in the underneath or something like that. And where's your tanks at? How is your tanks looking? Are they? Do you see any floaties? Do you see? Is your temperature where it needs to be? How are those things working for you? And then finding those really nice little niches that make things work. So if your tank is giving you beautiful parts at a temperature of just say 100 degrees, then let's keep it there. Where's your maintenance on that? Let's get away from idling tanks. If we put so many parts through, this is when we need an ad. Let's make that happen instead of idling out. And we've gotten to the point where we're really into maintaining tanks and not stopping processes and stopping parts. So that's also helping with our turn time. So that's what I mean by just being more proactive instead of, oh no, that tank didn't pass the titrations this morning, so now we can't run any tempo. You know, we're like, okay, we need an ad. We can still run, but let's make that ad. You know, so it's been a nice. That team has been fantastic, and I can't say enough for the teams here. We really work well together. Sometimes we're dysfunctional, but I think that's in any organization. You can be dysfunctional sometimes.
Put the fun in that. Yeah, put the fun in dysfunctional, right? Yeah. With that. Yeah. And you know, okay, yeah. Yeah, and like I said, you know, a lot of that, you know, like I said, goes back to, again, your original training. It almost seems like you're bringing the original founders' voices back into this, where how they want. I'm sure they'd be very proud of how it is being run now, and all that you have gone through with that. I'm sure that's something that they would be. I'm sure with that.
Thank you. I hope so. I do.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to say with that.
Taught me so much, and then even just the folks from Valence have even added on to that. Just knowing all of those and learning all of that from the vast knowledge of all of the vice presidents of operations and quality and stuff. It's just been amazing. It's been an amazing ride, and I love to learn, and so I feel like every day I learn, you know, which is sometimes
definitely,
but,
definitely, yeah, and it yeah. Well, you know, it's funny because, you know, when you hear sometimes where people have, you know, like you have a shop and they're taken over by a larger group such as Valence and things like that. But it seems like you all really embrace that, that, you know, that what Valence was bringing to the table, which, you know, you mentioned is having that network of resources for you and some expertise that you may not have had there that you can tap into. It seems like it's been a very positive since the acquisition was made several years ago. Then it feels like it's been very well.
It really has been, and I think, you know, Valence has the joining of two, and so I think that all of us coming together, like we meet a lot as a group, and all the GMs have calls on Tuesdays and Thursdays every week, and we go through like all of our KPIs and just listening to what other folks are going through, and then also saying, you know, hey, Tammy had these issues, and hey, do you have something that can help her, or hey, what can you offer? And hey, we just got the flu that went through here, and can you offer me some painters? And you know, so we ship people out to wherever to help get their parts out, and vice versa. And then even the knowledge of, we have a problem in our anodized tank, can you help me? You know what, we've had that problem too, and we've done this. And that is, I just find that to be, when you're on an island all by yourself and you have one palm tree and no coconuts, you know, I mean, it's just, you feel very alone. But I know that at any point in time, I can pick up the phone and I can say, help, and I'll get it. And that to me is huge, you know. And I know that, especially in this rural area of Pennsylvania, so many folks have been hit by layoffs, and you know, we're right around steel towns and Appalachia, and so it's been that fear when that big corporation came in, was we're all going to lose our job, and having them be like, look, you're not going to. They want you to grow. There's nothing more that they want than to make you feel comfortable and you're part of this team. And so anytime anyone comes in, they're like, go team, go, and they're wonderful. They're very based on the employee, not about the number. And that's, I say that. I think I say that every day. But you know, because it's just a fear. You know, we're in Pennsylvania. It's a fear. But
exactly. Right. Yeah. Like I said, that's what. Yeah. You get. It has a a kind of a way of, people see it happen in other places. They feel it's inevitable for them, but not necessarily with that. So yeah, it's good that it's working out really well for you all. And yourself, like I said, you came there. I guess it's been what, over 10 years now, right? Over almost 12 years since you've been there.
2015.
Yeah. I mean, would you ever have envisioned yourself to be, the head person that's, running every operation there? I mean, that had to be sort of, when you look back now and think of, it sounds like someone like yourself who wants to learn and wants to get better and wants to improve and everything. But had you ever envisioned that this would be where it would take you in this whole thing? Or...
So humble, so very humbled to have that on my shoulder, and some days I have to give myself a pep talk, like, you can do this, you can do this. But like I said, I have a team around me. I have knowledge within myself. I know that I can go through specs and procedures, but just learning. I have a fantastic mentor and my boss that helps me get through all of that, Chris O'Neill. And like I said, I also have my other GMs, plus I have all my supervisors and managers here that teach me. And I feel like if you ever stop learning, you might as well just go home, so I'm always open to that. But I have never in my wildest dreams felt that this would be my fantastic career. Like, I am very humble, and it's a joy, and I don't even know how to put that all into words, but it is very, very, very cool. Yeah, some days I'm like, am I dreaming?